Club Veto is on. Your only connection to the very important top officer and unlimited sales success. Your host, Anthony Parinello, is a best-selling author. He's trained over 2 million sales professionals and 65 of the Fortune 100. This program will take you to sales heaven and keep you out of sales hell. So turn it up. Now, here's your host, Tony Parinello.
Yeah, hello everybody. It is Tony Parinello, your next best friend and your competition's nemesis, keeping you out of sales hell. Now, sales hell is this place where you work your little keister off, you jump through all the hoops, you go through these long, protracted sales cycles that are absolutely maddening, and if you do get the order, it's a little itsy-bitsy, teensy-weensy order, and you start falling behind quota, and that really is not good. On the flip side of this, of course, is sales heaven. This is where you're going to work your little keister off. Sure you are, but you're going to be rewarded with huge, incredibly big sales and short sales cycles. What a great combination. My goal is to keep you in a permanent zip code in sales heaven while you're here on earth. And today, to help me do this, is none other than our head Veto sales coach, Mr. Steve Daly. So, Steve, welcome to the show.
Yo, Tony. Yeah, ready to stir it up today.
Yeah, man, let's stir something up. So I'm driving into the studio this morning, and I stop at a light, and I look out the side of my vehicle, and there's a guy with a car that says Armando's Car Detailing. So I roll down my window, he rolled down his, I get his card, I'm going to have my car detailed by this guy. Now, here's the thought. This guy had a strength of having the smarts to skin his vehicle to advertise who the heck he is and what he does. Yeah. That's his strength. Now, I'm going to call him up and have him come over and detail one of my cars, and then I'll find out if his real strength is in detailing a car. So it got me to thinking about our strengths and weaknesses. And is there some way of self-assessment of our strengths and weaknesses when it comes to anything, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's an endeavor, a hobby, whether it's a goal, a physical goal of running a marathon, or our sales work? Yep. Is there a way to do this, Coach Steve?
Yeah, sure. So there's like an inside-out approach and an outside-in approach. Let's just look at it that way. So the inside-out approach is really very simple. Your strengths are those things that you like to do, that you love to do, that feel easy, that your sort of default or go-to activities, or you mentioned training for a marathon, for example. So even if you are training for a long distance run, you have to also do some interval work. And so if you really like the long distance runs, then that's what you're going to go for, but you're going to compromise because you don't like so much the interval training. In selling, maybe you're great at maybe you love picking up the phone. Some people just really dig that. I've got a client right now that if he knew that's all he had to do to sell, he'd do 100 calls a day or 200 calls a day. He loves it. Other guys can't, they're allergic. It's a 400-pound, the phone weighs 400 pounds to them. So I think one way to identify strengths and weaknesses is simply to look at an honest look at what you like to do and what you love. Now, there's another way to do it, but that's a good starting place inside of just daily activity and focus on things that you're trying to get accomplished.
So that sounds like really easy. I mean,
yeah.
It's probably a good idea to jot down. We could use the marathon, for example, or let's use sales work, for example. Mm-hmm. Jot down what you love to do, what you like to do, what feels easy in your sales process. Then what?
Well, okay, so there's always going to be two sides, all right? And so now that takes us to the outside-in approach, okay, or view. So the outside-in looks at all of the things that are required for success in any endeavor: relationship, fitness, selling, entrepreneurship, whatever. Take a look at all of the things that are required for success there. All right, let's go to selling again. So we've got to initiate or start the process of reaching out and engaging clients. Then we have to develop that relationship. That's a separate competency. Then we have to, somewhere along the line, give a articulate proposal after we've identified needs and so on. And then there's closing skills. And all the way through that, there's, verbal or oral communication. There's written communication. There's keeping track of the administration of all that, all the stuff that we're stirring up. So an outside-in approach basically identifies all of the potential competencies and assets or strengths and or areas, and then rate yourself or rank yourself on the same scale that we did on Inside Out. In other words, okay, how much do I like it? How much do I hate it? What do I think I'm good at? What do I think I'm not good at? What do I think I do for nothing? I do for free. I do it if, I love it so much it doesn't matter. I spend all day doing it versus how much, what am I procrastinating and pushing out? Once you get the two columns, would be a good way of doing this. You said list all of the stuff. Okay, now let's, what I like and what I don't like. Okay, let's list all the things. You put them in two columns of things you like, things you don't like. Now, shuffle them. Like, what do you like the most? What do you like the least? What do you hate the most? What do you hate the least? Now, let me pause there. So does that make sense? Does that seem like a doable process, exercise?
Yeah, actually, what I love about this is most of the time, and I think every time I throw something in your lap, you come up with some kind of process or some kind of procedure. Going back to the look what you have to do in your sales work, the prospecting, the proposals, the presentations, the closing, the negotiations, all that stuff. While we're doing that, it gets us to examine our sales process. So it's kind of like a happy hour. So we're examining our sales process, all the steps, and then we're figuring out, what we're good at, what we're not good at, what we dislike, and we rank those. And I love this, making a list of the likes and don't likes, or what I'm good at or what I'm not good at, and then start to polarize it, start to match stuff up. I just think this is a great idea. It's very visual. It's very practical. I'm with you 100%.
Now, here's the key. And this is now let's talk mindset. So what all of us are predisposed to do, this is not, one guy's good at this, another guy. We all are going to do this, and that is we will tend to unconsciously and sometimes consciously focus on the things that we're good at because there's juice there for us, because we love it, because we, like I was saying, feel like we're good, and fall into believing or taking on a mindset that the more we do the stuff we do well, or the more we do the stuff we like to do, the better we're going to do. Now, that's not all wrong, except here's what happens. If you only focus on practicing and rehearsing and replicating the things that you're great at, and you never pay attention to the stuff that you're not so great at, you're going to create a gap. I call it a competency gap. And when the gap between what you're great at and what you suck at is too big, the stuff you suck at is going to bring down the stuff you're good at every time. It's not like a negotiable thing. You can't talk yourself. You won't convince me otherwise. And so what I tell my clients is, you know what? You have to be great at anything, like really optimally great at anything, you have to be good at everything. And in order to be good at everything, you have to recognize that when you first start working on the stuff that you're not good at, you're going to suck until you do it enough that you suck a little less. And then pretty soon you'll start getting good.
So let me make sure I got this right. I wrote it down, and I'm going to repeat it because it might be a play on words here. If you want to be great at anything, you must be good at everything?
Yes.
With regards to what that is.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you want to be a great, we could put it two ways in selling. If you want to be a great selling professional, you have to be good at everything that's involved in selling. Or we could say, if you really want to be a world-class hunter, prospector, lead finder, you still got to be good at all the other stuff because there's pieces of those things that transfer into the thing that you're already good at, but you always are going to hit a ceiling to your ideal competency there if you don't hit the other things.
I absolutely love this. And you know what else I love about this is that it is our natural tendency to focus on what we're good at and not focus on what we're not so good at. This is our natural. It's everybody, and present company included on my end of this line, because and this is so true. We get better and better and better at stuff we're really good at, but we ignore the stuff because it's not pleasant to work on it. It's difficult. It's hard. I don't like it. I don't like picking up the 3,000-pound phone, so I'm going to do some other stuff that I'm really good at, and I'm going to and so I love this. To be great at anything. Let's fill in the end. To be great at sales, you've got to be good at every element of the sales process.
Yes.
Because
and the reason I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, I said I absolutely love it.
Yeah. The thing that helps us at least start to look for a foothold on practicing the things and working on the things that we're not good at. And I'll give you some tips on how to do that.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Is we just have to recognize a way recognize so we don't rationalize that the stuff we're not good at is absolutely going to pull away the value of what it is that we want to be great at. Keep in mind that gap. You know, if you scored a 1 to 10, and let's say you're 8, 9, 10 in some things, and you're 3, 4, 5 in other things. Those 3s, 4s, and 5s are going to pull down the 8s and 9s every time.
It makes total sense. Makes absolutely total sense.
All right. So what do you do? So it's like I can hear our audience going, "Oh crap! I don't want to work on that stuff. I know what you're talking about, Coach. I don't want to do it." Okay. I'll go back to what I said. You're going to stink at it in the beginning, and just be okay with that. Just recognize that every single thing. I like to take us back to our developmental stages in life. That's all are all familiar to us all. When you were first riding a bicycle, you saw somebody ride a bike. Another kid in the neighborhood. Wow, that looks good. That looks fun. That looks easy. You jump on a bike and find out it's not that easy. But you still wanted to look or play with the other guys, and so you got back on the bike after you fell down, or you got somebody to help you, or you did some things that got you to that picture. So we want to start with, so just how good do you want to be? Get a picture of you being phenomenally successful as a selling professional in every area. Balancing the bike, riding it fast, riding it slow, putting on the brakes at the right time, riding it up a hill, riding it down a hill, riding it on gravel, riding it on pavement, jumping the curbs. Visualize yourself being a stud or studette in every area of that domain. Get the vision clear. That's number one. Number two is then start a process of a deliberate process of starting with the simplest part of whatever it is that you feel like you're not very good at. So let's say you're not very good at picking up the phone. All right. The very simple part of, or what bogs a person down on picking up the phone is, what am I going to say? Okay. Well, let's practice what you're going to say. Just practice it. Just, pull out your poodle or your cat or your, teddy bear or whatever, and just start practicing that one thing, that one piece of it. And then maybe you add it to a live person, right? You call up your spouse or your best friend or Tony and say, okay, Harry, listen to this, right? And see how that sounds. And then maybe you're moving closer now to where you can pick up the phone. Well, call up a client that you already have, somebody that already likes you, and say, hey, listen, let me just run something by you. If I were to call you up at the beginning of our relationship and I said this, how would it sound to you? And then now we're about ready. Now we can start doing it to somebody else. So then just make what I'm saying, Tony, is make it progressive. Break down whatever the skill is or the competence that you want to improve. Make it progress. Create a progression that's comfortable for you, one step at a time. And then finally, once you get to the place where you actually are doing the thing, whatever it is, you're actually doing it. Now, keep score on how many times you did it and give yourself a reward. You've heard me talk about this. Give yourself a reward for doing it 4 times, 5 times, 10 times.
So, Coach Steve, this is so great because it's so practical and so tactical. I love it. You know me, I love lists and I love action steps.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take you back to when I rate myself on this stuff, right? So then when I got all this done, now I'm going to start a deliberate process. I love that. Start a deliberate process to rectify the stuff I'm weak in. Do I start with the numbers that are the worst, or do I go to the numbers that are closer to my, a smaller competency gap? Where do I start? Do I start with easy stuff to make it better, or the hardest stuff and make it better?
Yeah, great question. I think that's going to be a personal choice.
Okay.
I would encourage you to first. This is where a coach can help, but I would encourage you to take a look at what in your gut is holding you back the most.
Ah, I like it.
Okay, and it may be something that you're kind of good at, but you just don't like to do. It could be something that you really stink at, and you don't like to do. But what's holding you back the most? Just kind of do a little gut check on that. It's probably the best place to start.
Excellent, absolutely excellent. Now, since we started this conversation, you've laid out a great step-by-step procedure. Could you give us some homework to do here? Maybe a first step in getting this done and putting it into place, or a first and second step homework assignment?
Sure. I mean, I guess step 1 is identify what you want to, what domain you want to explore, and I'll come back to that in a second. And step 2 is re-listen to this session so that you can get the steps down. But to pick what domain, okay, so now I'm going to get maybe a little deep here, but it'll make sense. So we could say obviously, okay, well, let's pick the domain itself. Okay, great. But then, look, we are whole beings, all right? There's no way of getting around it. We've got a career. We've got money that's very important in life. We have relationships that are critical to our success. Some of those relationships in our business or community. We got relationships at home. We got our fitness and our health. We got recreation and fun things that we that help us. By the way, recreation, recreate ourselves. There's that aspect. There's for many, there's a spiritual component. There's different areas. And you know what? Just like we described in selling, you could also take an overview look at your life in general. And what I find often, Tony, is that I get guys all the time calling me up and saying, "Listen, I really need some help with my business, and I heard about you, whatever." And I'll say, "Okay, awesome." And then we start talking about other parts of their life, and I got a client right now that, we started working on him taking care of his health, and his business started coming together. And we really didn't talk that much about his business. He just started feeling better about, had more energy and had, feeling better about himself. And started expressing more self-confidence and just kind of doing what he was always doing anyway with his business, and his business started working better. So pick a domain, and it could be obviously selling and all the different components of selling, or it could be your whole life and all the different components of your life. It all works the same, and it all works in the same congruity, if you will.
That makes so much sense, as usual, Coach Steve. The ankle bone's connected to the knee bone. The knee bone's connected to the hip bone. This is great. Coach Steve, I want to hear again, thank you so much for being who you are and doing what you do. No matter what I throw in your lap, you always come up with a great process and a great way. And I love this. Pick a domain and remember we're whole beings, and then just listen to the archive of this show and just take the steps that you've defined for us.
There you go.
All right, perfect. Coach Steve. Hey, thank you so much. And everybody, it is really time to take action on everything you learned here on these broadcasts, especially when I have head veto coach Steve Daly join us. So, Coach Steve, thanks for joining us again. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Club Veto with Tony Parinello. Stay in touch with us 24 hours a day at vetoselling.com or call us with comments and suggestions. This program and its entire contents are the property of Anthony Parinello. Unauthorized duplication or rebroadcast without express written permission of Anthony Parinello is prohibited and unlawful under U.S. copyright law.